What's going on, everyone? Coach Aaron here, and today we're going to go over the USA Powerlifting drug testing policies. Alrighty, everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I figured I'd go over the entire drug testing policy for USA Powerlifting, USAPL, so you can get some of the finer points of how many people we test, how do we pick who gets tested, when you get announced or selected, and then the process of going through the paperwork and the actual collection kit. All right. There are some differences between national level and local level drug testing, in meat and out of meat drug testing, and even the IPF level drug testing and the USA Powerlifting drug testing. So we're just going to focus on the local level in competition drug testing in this video and go over just kind of what the current process is, as sometimes the process does change over time with what type of kit is used or how they do the actual collection and all that kind of stuff. So the first thing we want to go over, which hasn't changed, is how many people get tested. So a lot of people get confused over this, and it is minimum 10%. Okay, so as an example, if you have 40 lifters in the competition, then you have to do 4 drug tests. But if you have 41 lifters in the competition, then you have to do 5 drug tests. And this is because you can't do the fraction of a test. So if you take 10% of 41, you get 4.1. So you have to round that up and you have to do 5 drug tests. So then if you did 42 lifters or 43 lifters all the way up to 50 lifters, that would still be 5 drug tests. And then once you get to 51 lifters, then you have to do 6 drug tests. So minimum 10% of the number of lifters that actually compete in the competition, not the entries at the beginning and there's dropouts or anything like that. So going into who gets picked from that 10%, we'll go over some of the factors, but that might be why sometimes a lifter gets picked that you think is natural, or maybe there shouldn't be picked, but the meet director has to hit that minimum 10%. So we have to pick someone. So sometimes we just end up picking someone who maybe we know has already passed a bunch of tests, or you might know them and you know there's no reason for them to be considered for testing, but we have to hit that minimum 10%. Okay, but going into who gets picked, it is not random. So some people go around saying that people are randomly selected, don't know exactly where they got it from. Maybe it's some kind of just hand-me-down information that just changed over times and it's become more and more incorrect, but is not randomly selected. You can think it more as a targeted testing, or we're strategically testing people. Okay, so go around, tell your friends it is targeted testing. It is not random. If it was random, then before the meet even started, I could just pull names out of a hat or just do a random number generator on the internet and say, okay, these are the random names that got picked and these are who are going to get picked for testing. But that doesn't happen. We select who gets picked for the testing during the competition. Sometimes during the deadlifts, whoever's the doping officer will start looking at the results, or maybe after the deadlifts are over, before the award ceremony, then they'll look, and based on the results and the people actually at the competition, everything, then you are selected. There is no specific guideline or hard fast, this variable is what will get you tested. It is a number of variables that different meet directors use to pick who gets selected. So some of these things can be, did you win your weight class? Did you win best lifter? Are you a normal national, international competitor? Do you look like you're really big and that you could possibly be on something? Have you made really big gains in progress if they looked at your previous meet results and your numbers have really shot up? If maybe they've heard something from a coach or another lifter at that gym, or maybe seen something online of you saying something that maybe you took something that would be illegal. It could also be if you're coming from another federation and you're brand new and you've never been tested before, that they want to select you. So there's a number of reasons that they can pick. Oftentimes what I do when I'm a meet director or when I'm selecting at a local meet is, once the lifting is done, I just pull up the results from that session and I just rank everyone by formula. So when we were using the Wilks, I just rank everyone by Wilks, and now that we're using IPF points, I just rank everyone by IPF points and see who the top people are. And then from that top group, I could pick, okay, this person won best lifter, this person won their weight class, this person's a normal national competitor, do a mix of female and male, and then I got my people from the session, and then I'm ready to go. When you get picked, or when they say your name, also varies a little bit between competition, but what I like to do these days now is, for local meets, oftentimes I'm announcing, or if Gino's announcing, I'm doing the middle ceremony. So when I have that weight class, or if it's just all the women or just all the men up there for the award ceremony, we're giving out all the medals for the weight class. Before I let them go, while I have them all up there, then I'll say, okay, I'm gonna say the names for drug testing, and when I say your name, please raise your hand and acknowledge it. So then I'll say, okay, Aaron Khamesi, and if I'm standing in there in line, I look over, raise my hand, so that we know that the person's in the room, we know that they got selected, and they raise their hand, acknowledge in front of everyone that they know they're being selected and they can't leave. So that way, it's certain that they are aware they got selected for drug testing, and they can't say, oh, well, I left and I'm already driving home, I didn't know that I got picked. So that's why in previous videos here on my channel, my Instagram post, and my emails out as a meet director, I'm always telling the athletes, do not leave. You have to stay for the competition, and preferably, especially if you're getting a medal, stay for the award ceremony so you can get your medal and hear who got picked for drug testing to see if you got picked or not. If you have to go early, you have to go back to work, you have to make a flight or some kind of emergency, then just go talk to the meet director and say, hey, I have to leave. I want to know if I got selected for drug testing to see if I'm available to leave and not get in trouble. And the meet director will say, okay, yeah, you're good, here's your medal, you did get picked for drug testing, and go. Or say, no, sorry, you did get selected for drug testing, so you have to stay here and we have to do the drug test. All right, so let's go over some of the paperwork. Okay, so this video is gonna be helpful for meet directors, for whoever's doing the drug testing, if it's a referee, and for the athletes and coaches that are going to be part of the drug testing process, either the athlete getting drug tested, or maybe you're the coach or the parent there with the athlete. So there's going to be some paperwork for the meet director. So when a meet director runs a meet, as part of the paperwork, they'll get a couple of packets, and you can just get it one time and then just save it forever, that you can have for not only for yourself, but for whoever's giving the drug test, or just at the table for athletes to follow along. So one is for the paperwork, and one is for the collection of the sample. So this gives you the latest procedures on how the drug testing is done, how the collection is done, how to seal everything, how to ship everything. So you can always follow along with this if there's any questions about how to go through the process. Next, there's gonna be a couple forms for each person getting tested that has to fill out, okay? So this one is for USAPL. It's their little form so that they know who got drug tested and who did the drug testing. And then there's the paperwork for the lab that does the drug testing. In most cases, it is the Redwood Toxicology Lab. And so this will also be filled out, and a portion of this will go to the lab, a portion of this will go to USAPL, a portion will go to the athlete for both of them to keep as their own copy. When you do fill this out, again, it's important to follow along with the referee or whoever's doing the doping process to fill everything out correctly, or follow the paperwork. For this USAPL paper, it is 3 pages, okay? There's a white, a yellow, and a pink. And then for this Redwood is 5 pages. So it's important to press down hard so it goes through all the pages, and so that everything is clear through all the pages. And of course, write in pen, write clearly, no chicken scratch. Okay, so take your time with this. There will also be an identification number on both of them, and that identification number will be the photo ID that the lifter used to check in. They can use that same photo ID for the drug testing. So if it's a driver's license, and let's say you're from Florida, you would put FL for Florida, you put DL for driver's license, you put the number sign, or hashtag as the kids like to call it these days, and then you write out the full number. That's very important for the one that goes to the lab, because the one that goes to the lab, the donor ID, okay, the first line, the donor ID, is going to be that photo ID, so that when they figure out the results, it is linked to that photo ID and not to your name, so that it is anonymous and there's no bias or anything like that. If they happen to know the person being drug tested, it is all anonymous. They don't know who's being drug tested. They just give the result, and then the way to match it with who took it is that donor ID, and then also the individual number that's at the top for the paperwork. Also, the meet directors will get these collection kits. They'll get a number of them. They usually get extras for each meet. So for example, if they apply and say there's 40 lifters in the competition, so they only need 4 drug tests, oftentimes USAPL will provide 5, 6, or 7, just in case any of them are damaged or someone has to redo it or something like that. They always have extras. And usually meet directors, I'm collecting all these, so I have a bunch of them for the paperwork and the collection kits that I always bring just in case, okay? So there will be a bunch of them on the table or in a bag, and you can select whichever one you want. So you as an athlete are picking the kit, it is not being provided for you. And you can just check and make sure that the aluminum foil has completely sealed it. All right, but let's go through the kit. So we'll tear this open. All right, inside you will have these 2 smaller bottles, and you'll have this little plastic baggie. All right, and then obviously you have the big cup. So the big cup is where you're gonna collect the sample, and then the 2 smaller bottles are where you're gonna pour the big cup into to do the A bottle and the B bottle, which one whenever you select, and then those will be your 2 samples. Okay, so on the big bottle there are some markers on there, and we want to get past this 60 milliliter marker. We'd like to get to 70 milliliters. Okay, so you don't have to fill it up to the top, but you want to get past the 60 up to 60 milliliters, and then that's where you will separate them out into the 2 small bottles up to this thick line. That's the 30 milliliters. So that way you're splitting the 70 milliliters into 2 30s, which gets you 60. So you should have some left over just in case there's any issues with spilling it or anything like that, or you can always put a little bit extra in one of them just to be sure. Okay, so you go to the bathroom, the person doing the doping control, the person witnessing it is going to watch you pee in here to make sure you're not hiding anything on you or anything in the urinal or anything like that, making sure that it is your urine going out of your body into this cup. All right, then you usually will go over to the sink and split it. So on these bottles, what you do is you flip a little flap up, and then there'll also be a little notch here, and you have to push with your thumb on the notch to make it pop to break the seal. Okay, then once you broke the seal, then you would pour it in there past the thick line, and then you would close it, push down hard, close the little flap again, and then you flip it over to make sure there's no leaks in your bottle, make sure that it's sealed. Then you would put it down, and you would do the same thing with the other one. Open the flap, pop the seal, pour it in, close the flap, flip it over, make sure there's no leaks. And now you've separated into your 2 specimens. And then whatever's left in the big cup, you can pour out in the toilet, flush it down. You can toss this out, you'd wash your hands, and then you take your 2 specimens back to the table to seal them up and do the paperwork. So this little process here is the athlete's gonna be doing it themselves. The doping control officer is only watching. They're just witnessing, making sure everything is done properly. But you as the athlete, you're the one who flips the aluminum foil up. You're the one who pees in the cup. You're the one who separates it into the 2 samples. You seal it, check if there's leaks. You're the one who takes it back with you, and you are in possession of your own samples to make sure that no one's touching or tampering with your sample. All right, once you get back to the table and you filled out all the paperwork, you go through it, ask for all your information, and ask if you have a TUE, if you take any kind of medications. Okay, you fill this all out. There's gonna be a couple stickers right here in the middle. There's 2 stickers, and then down here the A and B are 2 stickers. So then these stickers will go on the bottles to seal them. So for example, we take this sticker at the bottom, and that is your A sample. So you would pick whichever bottle you want to be your A sample, and you would put this across the top. So now I have my A sample sticker sealing my A sample, and you would do the same thing with the B sticker on your B sample. And then to double seal it, you would take this little sticker in the middle, which has your initials and your date on it and the type of test they're doing, and this is gonna go around the bottle covering the sticker. So you're gonna put it down here at the bottom, and you're going around. So now this sticker is going around the bottle, sealing the other one, so now it's double sealed. Okay, and then again, you do the same thing with the other bottle. Once you've double sealed both of those bottles, then that's where we take our little plastic baggie, and these are gonna go in the baggie and get sealed in there, okay? You don't wanna put it in the big top section, okay? We wanna put it in this smaller pouch here between these 2 little dashed black lines. All right, you're gonna put it in that smaller section. There's going to be a little napkin in there to see if there's any leaks and stuff when they receive it. You're gonna leave that little napkin in there. You put both of your bottles in there that are sealed, and then you're gonna peel this, and you're gonna seal that. So now in this small patch in the front, you have your sample A and your sample B. Both of your samples are sealed with stickers going over the top and around the side, and they are placed in here and sealed here. And then the last sticker we're gonna put on is all the way down here in the bottom left, there is this security seal. So you peel off the security seal and you just put that right over where you sealed the baggie. So now this thing is well protected with the stickers on top of the bottle. Inside the baggie, there's a little napkin in there to see if it breaks during the shipping or anything like that. Then that is sealed, and there's a security seal on there. And then now you'd be done with your collection, and then the meat director would just mail this through FedEx. Once all the paperwork is done, then it's just separating out the copies. So in this case, the pink copy goes to the lifter. So you would just rip off the pink copy. You would just rip off the pink copy in the back. That would go to the lifter. And in this one, the last page goes to the athlete. So you would just rip this stuff off the side, and then you would give the last one to the athlete, and they take their copies, and then the athlete would be done and they'd be free to go. They've done their collection, they've sealed everything up, they got their 2 copies, they are done with their drug testing. From there, it would just be the meat director and the doping control officer separating out the rest of the paperwork. So they're sending out the right paperwork to the lab, they're sending out the right paperwork to USAPL, they're keeping the right paperwork for themselves, and they're shipping the drug test, the completed test, correctly to the lab through FedEx at the right time and everything like that. So that is all in the procedures. So as a meat director, you want to make sure you read that, plus the other paperwork that's in your packet and sent through you through your email, goes over the process of how to ship everything and what time you need to ship everything. So you just have to make sure you follow those so everything is done correctly. All right, and then the last thing that athletes always ask is, when are they going to receive their results? So we do have a public drug testing database that you can go on the USAPL website under the anti-doping and find it. And the database has a tab for each year, and you can go see everyone who was drug tested in competition, what competition it was, everyone was drug tested out of competition, what the date was, and then you can see whether they passed or failed. Then there's also the current suspension list, where you can go see who's failed, what they failed for, when they got suspended, and how long they were suspended. So you can go look at all that. And that's updated every once in a while. They don't do it every single day or every single week, because there's just so many meets going on and so many tests coming back and forth from the lab and everything. They just take some time and upload a bunch at once. So what I tell people is it usually takes about 4 weeks before it gets updated into the database, and you can go look and see your results. Also, what I tell people is if you don't hear anything from USAPL, then that is a good thing. Okay, so they're not going to email you and tell you that you passed. There's too many tests and too many people to email, so you'd have to just go look in the database and go see that you passed. But if there is an issue with your test, then they may email you or use the contact information in the paperwork that you filled out to contact you. So if there is an issue for like medication that you needed to apply for a TUE, or if you actually did take something and you are cheating and you have to fight it or take your suspension, then that's when you receive an email, and you receive an email from USAPL telling you what the issue is, how long you have to respond, and then you can decide what you want to do. So if you don't hear anything, that's a good thing. Don't worry about it. Wait a few weeks, go check the database and see that you passed. All right, but that's pretty much it, going over the procedures for the collection and submitting the drug test and all the paperwork, finding the results, everything like that. If you have any questions about any of this process or suspensions or anything like that, returning from a suspension, then just comment those below and I'll answer them for you. Also, you can go check out my video. I'll put the little card above and then in the description below to how to check your medication and how to check your supplements to make sure you don't mistakenly fail a drug test for something that you didn't know would cause a failure, or maybe some kind of supplement that had something in there that wasn't listed on it that could cause a failure. So go check out that video to just make sure that you never accidentally fail a drug test. But that's it, and I'll see you next time.